Today, my friends, the spice must flow. Every province in the world now produces the extravagantly expensive trade good of cloves, which is a fancy spice that has a juicy 8 ducat trade value. And to add to it, I reversed the flow of trade in the world using a mod that is going to be linked in the description. And the spice will flow, only this time, the flow is going to be directed towards Oceania and the New World. Big shout out to the patrons who support the channel. They get early access to these videos in case you didn't know. And if you do enjoy these wacky sort of situations, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for plenty more to come. The political map mode in 1444 looks exactly the same. It's this map mode is the one that's looking quite different. Every province in the world, as I said in the intro, is now cloves, because as you guys know, the spice must flow. And as I likely also would have mentioned in the intro, the spice will not be flowing into Europe this time around because we are using trade routes reversed or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the mod is called, but that means the trade is going to flow over into the New World, namely Mexico, California, Chesapeake, a little bit of Ohio as well. These nodes are going to be much more useful. Look at this one over here in Rio Grande is an end node now. So California and Rio Grande are definitely end nodes, and I think Patagonia is also an end node now. And I caught some flack in the last video that I used the trade routes reversed mod because I got rid of the natives, and clearly that definitely led to some issues with colonization, and there just wasn't any value being collected from these nodes. So yes, we're using it this time and we're keeping these guys, so don't worry about that. Not only are cloves very expensive, but they are also going to give every province in the game 20% local trade power, meaning these trade nodes that do have a lot of trade power will be getting quite a bit more here. You can see here producing cloves is giving them an extra 20% on top of the base that they already have. So yeah, provinces like London and that are going to be just that much better. Like I said, that is assuming that they can actually keep the trade in their node. That more of it is going to leave than is going to be in there in the long term, I think. Maybe. We'll see. Either way, you guys know the drill. Speed 5, unpause. And the 100 Years' War is underway. Doesn't look like England is going to be making it out of this one, considering the fact that France is allied to Genoa and Castile, and Portugal decided to not help out on this one. So yeah, it's probably not going to go well. They didn't even get to call Scotland in as an enemy because they are not allied this time around. So yeah, England probably is going to crumble pretty early if I had to guess. And meanwhile, Scotland is trying to use their newfound peace here, because they're not currently getting attacked by England, to make their way over into the Emerald Isle. And the Mamluks are pushing their way over into Arabia. Nothing new there. And my goodness, quite a bit of trade income here for the Egyptians. Look at that, making 18 ducats a month. That is really high early on. We may see the Mamluks coming out on top this time around. We're going to see how things go. Looks like Mushasha actually has quite a few cores over here that I didn't know about, and they are pushing over into Bahrain, probably going to get a bit of that trade power over here in the Persian Gulf. And no surprise, Japan, as always, an absolute just Thunderdome, everybody going to war, battle royale style, annexing each other, releasing subjects. Yeah, it's going to be a mess for quite a while until hopefully, or maybe not hopefully, I don't know, Ashikaga starts to consolidate and form Japan. But there is a crazy amount of value in this node, 29 freaking ducats in Nippon. That is crazy, actually. That is quite a bit, and most of it is actually local. There is quite a bit of trade value being extracted from these provinces. Yeah, dude, like take a look at this. The English Channel, 9.5 ducats with over 4.75 going into Lubeck. Meanwhile, Champagne doing very well at 29 ducats. Genoa at 14 and Venice at 10. But then we come over to places like Beijing with 1 ducat per month, with 14 ducats leaving every month. That's crazy. I said that Nippon was impressive with 29. How about 31 just up here in the north in Manchuria? And 14 in California, despite there being like nobody here to collect it. Looks like these guys over here are going to be getting very rich off of this trade if they can get it converting over into trade power. And it looks like something happened to the English Navy, because England has 8 ships left, and I don't think they have any heavies. Thus, the French and the Castilians have landed on Britain, though the Castilians actually got stack wiped here. They landed on London, which was pretty funny. So yeah, they are getting dominated, and it looks like England is going to be a non-factor this time around, assuming that France doesn't take any land that is not on the mainland. Yeah, this is pretty bad. So Scotland saw blood in the water and is actually beating up on England and just stack wiped a large portion of their army. England has 6,000 troops, Scotland has 17,000, and they actually released Cornwall, which is kind of funny, and France took over all of their land over here. It looks like the Palatinate got the Burgundian inheritance, but yeah, 100 Liberty Desire means this is almost certainly not going to stay, so I'm curious what actually happens if they break free. It looks like the Lowlands are going to be released as princes, and maybe Burgundy will join the HRE. I don't actually know exactly how that works. Regardless, that is probably good for the HRE, and England has been kicked off the continent, so that's good for the HRE, or at least good for me. And in case you guys didn't know this, Kosovo is actually Albania, as well as a good portion of the rest of Serbia for that matter. And I really think that this just cannot get any more weird. Brittany got some claims over here, specifically on Sussex, and has attacked England to take over Sussex. And that is after Scotland took over everything. All of Northumberland and Wales, and I think this is like the Midlands over here, is now Scotland, and Scotland is also in Northern Ireland. So it means Scotland is almost guaranteed to form Great Britain in this iteration of the game. Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't help that England is making less than 1 ducat per month in the English Channel, and the rest is all leaving. The English Channel is completely gutted. There are 16 ducats of the 22 local leaving every month. That is painful. So we're a little past 1500. We do not have any colonization in North or South America. Actually, we have no colonization at all at this point. Even Cape Verde remains a desolate, uncolonized, uncivilized archipelago here. England is just gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It is now Scotland, and they've even conquered all of Ireland as well. The Britons have been replaced with the Bretons in their capital over here in Sussex. Very cool sprite, very cool helmet. Don't know how practical it would be in real life, but very cool looking nonetheless. France is absolutely beefy. Huge France. And Brandenburg doing pretty good as well, expanding into central Germany, Pomerania, and they've even got Königsberg. Poland, however, is not doing very good. They have integrated Mazovia and moved their capital to Warsaw, but they've lost Krakow to Austria, and Galicia-Volhynia is broken free entirely. Looks like they're actually currently in a war against Lithuania. A conquest war nonetheless. So yeah, Poland not doing very good. Looks like they actually never took the Jagiellonian, or if they did, I didn't know about it. They do, however, have a PU on Hungary, who is disloyal at the moment. So that's a little bit of a plot twist. Austria, however, does have their personal union over Bohemia, and they are loyal. And speaking of personal unions, Castile, with all of them, has Aragon, Navarra, and Naples. They've also conquered the majority of central and parts of northern Italy, so Castile having a very good game despite the trade power in Sevilla being absolute trash. I'm sure it helps that Felipe of Lorraine here is a 665, and he's only 22 years old, so Castile having a very good start to a run. Though it would be unfair to count them out because they actually have very low outgoing trade. A lot of it is staying in their node, and they are collecting quite a bit, 28 ducats every month. So yeah, safe to say Castile is doing pretty good on the economic front, 34 ducats per month. Turns out that these cloves are indeed helping out even people who are losing a lot of their trade power to downstream nodes. The Reformation, however, has not begun, and it is still all Catholic, with Hussite over here in Prague. But aside from that, it's all Catholic, a little bit of Orthodox, and of course, the Ottomans having the game of their lives, pushing all the way up into here, but for some reason, they have not integrated Karaman. Ooh, looks like it's because they do not want to take on the beefy Mamluks, who have gone all the way into Arabia and pushing all the way into the Horn of Africa, bordering Ethiopia. So Mamluks are definitely going to be a bit of a thorn in the side of the Turks. Meanwhile, out east, the Ming is doing okay. They're stacking up mandate. They have passed one reform. They have gained quite a bit of land in Manchuria, as well as over here in Mongolia and Oirat. So yeah, Ming doing okay at the moment. And Japan, slowly but surely being united. It is Ashikaga versus Hosokawa to finish it out. And it looks like they are disloyal. So we'll see how that actually goes in the long term. But meanwhile, Korea making their way up the coast over here. And the trade power over here, 38 ducats per month in this node, actually insane. Africa being united mostly under Songhai in the west and Congo in the central portions. Over in the Horn of Africa, it is the Mamluks, and down in the south, it is Kilwa. A very scary Ottomans continue to march northward, not southward, because they are afraid of the Mamluks. Spain has formed and is pushing up north more so into Austria. They've taken a bunch of land from Austria, as well as, you know, the other Italian powers, of course. Though they have to compete with a very, very strong France, who has united the entirety of the French region and is pushing also into northern Italy as well as the Rhineland. Also, boys, rate my Britain. What do you guys think? Capital up here in Edinburgh? I think it looks pretty good, though I think you guys know they're going to end up forming Great Britain because why wouldn't they? Though it has to be said, the Church of Scotland has been founded. Very based. As has Protestantism and Reformed down in the south. Actually kind of cool considering the fact that the borders look kind of consistent with what Protestantism looked like in real life, and then Reformed started generally over here, if you consider Reformed Calvinist, started over here in Switzerland. But the reason why Protestantism is going so strong is because we have a big, strong, beautiful Russia. You love to see it, folks, or at least I do. And if you're anything like me, you are a sucker for a Prussia. The HRE does still exist with one single reform passed and a net minus 0.43 imperial authority per month. 14 princes left, so yeah, safe to say things have been a little tumultuous here in Germany. Denmark has integrated Norway, but not Sweden, and Russia has formed and is pushing down into Crimea. Though I have a feeling that this border with the Ottomans is not going to work out well for either nation. It's 1540 and we haven't looked much at India yet. Bahmanis and Vijay are still duking it out, but Bengal hanging on over there in the eastern part of India. Meanwhile, China has completely exploded. Ming is basically dead with Shun in the north, Yu and Wu in the south, Liang, Shu, Dali, Miao, and Chu over here in the central portions. And rather than uniting under Ashikaga, it looks like Japan is making progress towards uniting under Korea. Any of my Korean boys watching this right now, how does it make you feel to see the home islands colonized by the Koreans? Meanwhile, there continues to be no colonization. Not a single province has been colonized, which is okay when we take a look at what's going on over here in the New World. The Iroquois netting 21 ducats per month, 12 of which is from trade. Almost half of their entire income is from trade, has 7,000 ducats in their treasury. Safe to say, if they are to get into any wars with any fledgling colonial nations from Europe, they can probably hold their own. This nation down here in the south is not trading nearly as much, but they do still have a treasury and a very good balance. And that goes pretty much for all of the New World natives over here. These Yakuts guys have a bit of an economy. You can see that their income is pretty good. Over half of their income from trade. And yeah, they're making it happen. My goodness, that is a scary Aztecs. If they can handle their doom, it looks like they also can make it happen down here in Central America. Also, I didn't know that this was possible, but it looks like the Muiscas actually colonized a couple of provinces up here, and they're all the way over to Cartagena, and they are doing good. They're actually holding on. They have a very solid treasury, a balance of 14 ducats per month, which is very powerful, and I love me some Muisca. Down in the south, it doesn't look like the Incans are doing as well because there's not as much trade down here, but a bit of trade, but not a whole lot for them. It does look like Portugal went explo and expansion. I assume that they're not colonizing because they don't really see any value in these provinces, but hopefully we'll see a little bit of colonization eventually. The last time we just saw Russia colonizing a ton. Spain went explo expansion as well, and Scotland took explo. France even went explo. Okay, so we should see some colonization eventually, but for the most part, it looks like they're actually just going to be using their colonists to develop up their own provinces. So well, time will tell how things turn out with that. And good old Friedrich Wilhelm I of Prussia over here has conquered a bit of land. They have two subjects here in Saxony and Munster, and they are currently embroiled in a war against Sweden and Poland with their allies of the Ottomans, but their other allies of Russia did not get involved. And the hilarious part about all of this is that this is actually an offensive war on behalf of the Ottomans trying to subjugate Landshut. Just look at that war. The Ottomans alone have almost 250,000 infantry. Absolutely insane. They outnumber them artillery 3-1 with 123,000 artillery just going to the Ottomans alone. So safe to say, even though they don't have as much trade as they normally would, or at least I assume they don't, they're still the Ottomans and they're still incredibly overpowered. Not as overpowered, however, this time around as Spain, who has gone all the way up into Holland to the very, very tip of Sicily. They've taken over Bavaria, southern Germany, parts of Switzerland, all the way up into the Rhine. They are very, very powerful and have still yet to colonize a single freaking province because God forbid they colonize anything over in the New World. But without that white European colonization, we've got some Iroquois and some Creek duking it out for the east coast of America over here. I know I'm rooting for the Creek, but that's just because I don't really like that French name for the Iroquois. Central America remains a bit of a mess, continuing their tradition of getting consolidated and then collapsing every few years. The West Coast, as well as the Rio Grande Valley over here, both have very small nations, nothing compared to what it should be considering the fact that they're end nodes. And I have to say that I regret to inform you, the Muisca have been pushed back over here into the coast of the Caribbean by none other than a united Inca who is doing extremely well, containing all of the land of the Andes all the way up to Panama. Africa continues to look remarkably like it did before, though it looks like Congo is pushing into Kilwa. Kilwa is pushing a bit north, pushing Algeron out of Kilwa proper, but yeah, they're going to end up running into the Mamluks if they go much farther. Probably not going to go well for them. India looking remarkably similar to what it did last time, but China looking remarkably different. Southeast Asia is almost exclusively united under Dai Viet, with Yu and Liang down here in the south, splitting China with Shun and Korea, who has taken Hokkaido as well as a couple more provinces in Japan, as well as almost the entirety of Manchuria. I showed it already, but yes, Russia's relentless push east continues, and they are getting their Siberian frontier set up over here, almost all the way over down into the tip of, what is this, the Bering Strait or the Bering Sea. And it looks like Reformed was actually squished this time around, and Protestantism is for the most part just Scandinavia and Prussia, with Anglican almost exclusively, well, actually exclusively over here. But there is one Reformed province down here, the good old boys in Sealy. That is a very cool hat, and I have to say, this dude, he looks a lot like the Red Hawk. Is that the Red Hawk right there? That villainous mustache. It could only be him. But yeah, it looks like this time around we are going to have a deluge. It's not going to be the usual suspects, but Prussia's probably going to get involved with maybe a little bit of Russia eventually, whenever they decide that they want to be a belligerent in one of these conflicts. In 1821, and don't worry, we're going to go a little bit more because I have a lot more that I would like to see. There is some interesting stuff to take a look at. Yellow Britain is not Scotland, but in fact, Spanish. The Ottomans have taken land in northern Italy and southern France, while losing a lot of land in Greece and Bulgaria. 1821, and the absolute mad lads of revolutionary Theodoro exist. Turns out that Crimea is actually a territory of the revolutionary Russian Empire. And the Ottomans never overcame their rivalry with the Mamluks, never pushing past Damascus, which is really cool. Meanwhile, we have a very interesting looking Persia that has spawned. We have a very massive Deccan right next to a very massive Bengal, not to be outdone by big pink Vietnam, next to a massive Korea, and more on that in a second. We've even got a Tanatuva in 1821. I like to see it. Delhi is a 2-province minor over here in the steppes, literally hundreds and hundreds of miles away from Delhi. This Hoju over here is actually a Korean subject. This is not the French in the southern parts of Africa. It is actually Korea, as is Korean Columbia and the Korean West Indies, sharing part of it with the Russian West Indies. We also have a revolutionary Canada right next to revolutionary natives. The Iroquois Confederacy is massive, with Aztec North America next to Aztecs, who are getting dominated in a war against Korea, Russian California, Russian Mexico, and then a big ol' Alaska. And even with pirates having 17% trade power here, revolutionary Russia is collecting 89 ducats per month in California. And there is a whopping 69 ducats in the Rio Grande, considering the fact that there is like hardly anybody steering here except for this one province here. There's a couple of people steering. That's pretty solid. Funnily enough, the richest trade node in the world is actually Deccan, with Bengal number 2 and then Hangzhou number 3. Constantinople actually coming in 4th spot, with Gulf of Aden, Lhasa, Persia, Jiran, Dobe, and Krakow over here. So it looks pretty much like it's like very random. There is not any like direction in which it seems that they're going. It does seem like it's jumping around pretty randomly, but we have 5 nodes, all with 200 or more ducats in it, which is pretty impressive. The Empire of China, absolutely massive, with Korea with maxed out mandate and all of the celestial reforms passed, which is really nice to see. They didn't end up pushing any more into Japan because Japan has been a tributary for like 200 years. Hilariously, the Anglican Church was kicked out of Scotland and actually was replaced with Catholics. The Spanish Inquisition happened and nobody expected it. Meanwhile, revolutionary Germany, which is formed by Prussia, of course, is Protestant. And there is some religious border war going on over here, but we don't have to talk about that. Meanwhile, of course, Russia is Orthodox. We have some Inti and some Confucians in the New World, with Nahuatl working their way all the way up into Canada. Is this Canada? No, I don't think this is Canada. This is like Montana. We have some Orthodox, some Totemists, some Confucians, and then Orthodox and Totemists over here. So at the end date, Korea is actually the #1 great power, which I didn't expect, followed by revolutionary Germany, revolutionary Russia, the Ottomans, Mamluks, revolutionary Spain, Deccan, and then France in the 8th spot. Korea is a fully stacked up economic hegemon with a very beefy military hegemon going to Russia, who has over 1 million men in the field. Terrifying. We're going to let some more time pass and see how things turn out. January of 2050, and there is quite a lot of things to be taken in right now. Deccan ended up forming Hindustan and splitting Bengal with revolutionary Tangu and Korea, and then Annam also collapsed into Korea, and then down in the south there you're going to see a nice purple color. Nusantara formed, which is a formable tag for Malaya. It has different cosmetic names and it is pretty cool. Majapahit migrated over, and I'm sure people are going to be screaming at me because I didn't mention it before, but Malacca actually had a colony over here in Australia. And speaking of colonies, how about Korean Columbia controlling the majority of South America? This is one big colony. Inca hanging in there right next to Korean Columbia, Korean Mexico, and then, looks like we've got some independent colonies. Miju over here splitting the United States in multiple pieces with Korean Louisiana and Mexico on either side. Canada, Alaska, California. We have one revolutionary native tag over here. That's pretty good. We have a one province minor, Zulu, down here next to Korean South Africa, right next to Congo, who has expelled Kilwa to Madagascar. The Mams definitely have seen better days. Last time we were in, I'm pretty sure they were doing just fine. But yeah, they are collapsing both to their neighbors as well as rebels. Syria and the Ottomans were spit out because at one point the Ottomans were fully annexed, but they made a comeback here, though it looks like a lot of their land is actually in control of Germany right now. Albania, the land of Skanderbro, has made a comeback as well. I believe they got annexed at one point, and they are revolutionary. Spain ended up getting completely dismantled. They were revolutionary as well, and now we have a revolutionary Portugal that has taken their place, as well as Catalonia, and that is Morocco down there. We have some Albania, some Spain, some Germany. I think this is the Pope man. A ton of various tags over here in Italy, though mostly just German. And how about this revolutionary Hainault? Anybody who's been watching EU4 videos for a while might know about Quaggersol. He's a buddy of mine. He doesn't really make content anymore, but he would always call it High Nut. And I always thought that was like the funniest pronunciation of anything in the game. That, and he called Magdeburg Mageburg. This is the ideal form of the British Isles, with England over here, Germany controlling the south. Over here we have Moroccan Wales, right next to Scotland, and German Britain, apparently up here in the north, with more Moroccan provinces scattered throughout because somehow Morocco conquered a bunch of land in the British Isles. I think you could actually make a joke about that right now, like with their immigration stuff, but I won't make any jokes because I'm not allowed to joke. People get really upset whenever I joke. We have a revolutionary Sapmi with probably one of the cooler hats I have ever seen in this game, right across from a revolutionary Finland who decided to make an appearance. And taking a look over here, Russia has collapsed. Germany's pushed quite far over there into Operation Barbarossa. Persia has pushed well up into the north. Revolutionary Kuz, revolutionary Uzbek, Kazakh, Zungar, and they're currently actually losing a war to Japan over here, with Korea with a decently long border with them. So yeah, safe to say Russia would not survive much longer if we were to keep the clock rolling. Over in West Africa, we have Songhai looking pretty good, but German Guinea has pushed them back just a bit. And the Germans have certainly spread Protestantism, but I believe that they are the only Protestant tag in the game, with Orthodox Albania over here. And of course, we have Sunni Ottomans, but the rest is Catholic and Orthodox. South America is mostly Confucian, and North America is almost exclusively Orthodox and Totemist. Though they're not actually totemist, they are Confucian. But the United States is Orthodox. Very nice. And they are a personal union under Alaska to make things even better. As far as cultures go, it's going to be mostly native because, as you guys know, aside from Russia and Korea, not that many people actually colonized, but we have plenty of Muscovite stuff going on over here. And in North America, it's hardly any Korean culture, but South America is Sino-Korean because, as you guys know, if Korea takes the mandate of heaven, they will actually convert into Chinese culture and they will become part of the Chinese group, which is pretty sweet. Speaking of Chinese, it looks like Cantonese and Sichuanese has pushed a bit into their kind of neighboring lands, spreading a bit of their culture. Speaking of spreading their culture, how about that Polish culture? That is pretty prolific. As is Austrian. It looks like the Germans decided that Austria was actually northern Italy and Venice as well over here into Croatia, which is kind of cool when you think about it, because this kind of looks like Austria-Hungary borders in like 1836 or whatever Victoria takes place. I believe that their borders come down into here, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was just pre-World War I. I actually don't remember. Either way, the Italian culture's mostly Neapolitan, apparently, with the rest getting pushed either north or out entirely. And my goodness, and probably what is one of the worst timelines we have, like a weird French-Dutch culture over here, kind of like a Belgian culture, Walloon, that is spread all the way from East Frisia down to Brest, all the way down into Burgundy. So very prolific. The Muscovites have spread part of their culture into Crimea as well as Finland, pushing a few of these cultures back. And I believe Egyptian doesn't go this far, but I could be wrong. Of course, Alaska is Malayan culture, and they follow the Sunni faith of all of them, which is pretty cool. The richest trade node in the world, Mississippi River, followed by Rio Grande, which is an end node, you got to remember that, followed by Krakow, then Ohio, another new world, Doab, Gulf of St. Lawrence, another new world, Bengal, Caribbean, new world, Mexico, new world. So the new world definitely dominates the top like 5 or 6 trade nodes. It feels really weird to see that much money in Ohio, but the United States is collecting quite a bit, almost 300 ducats a month just from Ohio. Look at this one down here. Even with all of those pirates, they are still collecting over 600 ducats per month. And over here, Alaska is collecting again about a 280 ducats per month, which is crazy. Some of the trade goods change, and that's mostly just because they're colonial nations. Whenever colonies are getting set up, sometimes they'll get events that will change the trade goods. You'll see the same thing over here in South America. We've got some grain over here, some paper over here, some silk over here, and of course, lots of coal. It does look like we've got gems over here in this Valois. But for the most part, the world is very much still cloves and the spice is very much still flowing. If you guys enjoyed this video, you want to see more stuff like it, make sure you leave a like on the video so that way I know to make more stuff like this. If you have a suggestion of something you'd like to see, make sure you leave it in the comments below the video. And if you want to join my Discord, my subreddit, my Twitter, those things are all going to be linked in the description below, as well as my Patreon, where if you support me, you can get early access to all of the videos that come out on this channel. You support your boy, and I give a little bit back to you. I think that's a great trade. Either way, guys, that is all I've got for you for today. I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I wish you all the best, lads. Anyways, until next time, stay chill.